Of the many mosques in Istanbul, the Süleymaniye Mosque is probably the most eye-catching one. This is not simply due to the sheer size of the mosque, but because of its magnificent location, historic importance, and grandiose design. As one of the most imposing structures in the city, the Süleymaniye Mosque is as hard to miss as it is not to be missed. The Süleymaniye crowns one of Istanbul's 7 hills and dominates the Golden Horn, providing a landmark for the entire city. Though it's not the largest of the Ottoman mosques, it is certainly one of the grandest and most beautiful. It's also unusual in that many of its original mosque complex buildings have been retained and sympathetically adapted for reuse. The complex stands on the grounds of the first palace built in the city by the conquering Ottomans. When in 1465 CE, the imperial entourage moved to the Topkapi Palace, the grounds of the old one was given over for construction of the new complex. Work on the Süleymaniye Mosque began in 1550 CE and was finished in 1558 CE. During this time, Sinan and his family lived on site. Like the city's other imperial mosques, the Süleymaniye Mosque was not only a place of worship, but also a charitable foundation, or kalai. The mosque is surrounded by its former hospital, soup kitchen, schools, caravanserai, resting place for travelers, and bathhouse. This complex provided a welfare system which fed over 1,000 of the city's poor, Muslims, Christians, and Jews alike every day. The size of the millstone in its courtyard gives an idea of the amount of grain that was needed to feed everyone. As with all imperial mosques in Istanbul, the entrance to the mosque contains a forecourt with a central fountain. The exterior facade of the mosque is decorated with rectangular blue-colored Iznik tile window lunettes. To the south of the mosque is a madrasa housing a library containing 110,000 manuscripts. The main courtyard entrance contained the rooms of the mosque astronomer who determined the times of prayer. A minaret stands on each of the 4 corners of the courtyard, 2 tall and 2 short. Traditionally, minarets were used for mosques that were endowed by a sultan. Princes and princesses could construct 2 minarets, others only 1. In total, the minarets have 10 galleries, small balconies, which by tradition indicates that Süleymaniye was the 10th Ottoman Sultan. The main dome is 53 meters high. The Süleymaniye Mosque has had to go through heavy restoration in the past. The first Süleymaniye Mosque restoration took place in the 17th century when the mosque was ravaged by a fire in 1660. Once the fire was put out, architect Fasadi was commissioned to undertake the restoration. Unfortunately, Fasadi changed the interior style of the mosque quite a bit, adopting a more Baroque style instead. What the mosque truly looked like before then, we'll unfortunately never know. The Süleymaniye Mosque's courtyard was used as a weapon depot during World War I. Naturally, another fire broke out during this time and greatly damaged the mosque. The mosque was unfortunately restored second time until 1956. The Süleymaniye Mosque is open to visitors every day of the week. The Süleymaniye Mosque visiting hours are from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., except for during prayer times. The Süleymaniye Mosque tickets are free as well, but donations are encouraged. Given the mosque's strategic location, the Süleymaniye doesn't just have an incredible view. As a mosque, it is open 24 hours for prayers. Visiting hours is limited between 9 to 1800 hours for foreign visitors and non-Muslim communities. These opening and closing times may vary depending on the summer and winter seasons. The change is only 1 hour and does not apply every year. Muslim visitors can enter during prayer time without any problem, but visitors of other religions are expected not to enter on Friday morning and to keep quiet after the call to prayer and wait until the prayer time is over. No matter your religion, you can go inside the building to visit. But there are some dress codes to Süleymaniye Mosque that respect for the Islamic rules and people which are praying inside mosque. Men need to wear clothes until below the knees, and women should cover their head, chest, shoulders, and legs. You can bring your own scarf to cover your head. If you are wearing shorts, tights, or skirts, it would be good to use a shawl to cover your legs. If you do not have a shawl or scarf, you can buy it at the entrance of the mosque or near the mosque. The Mosque of Suleiman the Magnificent was built in the 16th century by the great Ottoman architect Mimar Sinan for Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, also known as the Legislator. It stands on a hilltop, Third Hill, dominating the Golden Horn and contributing to the skyline of Istanbul. The mosque is the largest mosque of Istanbul. The mosque was ordered by the Sultan Suleiman, and architect Sinan built it in 7 years, between 1550 to 1557 AD. Like all big and important mosques of that period, also this mosque was built as a complex including a hospital, library, madrasa, kitchen and hospice for the poor, hammam, and shops. It's one of the best examples of Ottoman Islamic architecture in Istanbul. The ledgers of the complex, which account for the last 5 years and 7.5 months of the construction that took place between 1548 and 1557, have reached us today almost complete. Having detailed information on the labor wages and the cost of the bought materials, these ledgers, along with some other written documents on the construction process, were examined as valuable sources of the Ottoman economy of the 16th century by a group of historians led by Ömer Lütfi Barkın in the 1950s. The Süleymaniye Mosque was designed to be a reminder of the Hagia Sophia with its 2 big domes in the middle and the other 2 half domes next to them at the entrance and the mirror parts. In fact, the Süleymaniye Mosque is the 3rd Selatin mosque that resembles the Hagia Sophia. There are 3 entrances to inside of the mosque, one being from the inner courtyard on the axis of the mosque and other 2 being on the sides of the outer courtyard. Inside, the floor is covered with carpets. The chandeliers are low and dim, so it gives you an idea of the time when it was lit with candles, and there are 138 windows. The marble mihrab is directly ahead of you, meanwhile the minbar is on the right of mihrab and the Sultan's Lodge is on the left corner. Above, you'll notice the Great Dome, which has a diameter of 27 meters and a height of 53 meters. There are massive arches and 4 large columns lifting the main dome and smaller half domes, thus creating a large space. Indoors, there are simple but beautiful decorations such as floral designs, geometrical patterns, and calligraphy from the Quran. The acoustics of the hall is incredibly sharp. In the outer courtyard to the southeast, there is an old cemetery where important people were buried once upon a time. Sultan Suleiman, his wife Hürrem, and architect Sinan have their own mausoleums within the compound as well. While one would assume that a mosque with such a massive courtyard and such intricate designs would be very strongly decorated inside, the opposite is actually true. Compared to the mosque's exterior and to other mosques built within the period, the Süleymaniye Mosque's interior is actually quite bland. There is some Iznik tile work, however, as well as a few ivory designs. Mother-of-pearl designs can also be seen, though they are understated. Even the mosque's minbar, usually a prime spot for decoration, is very softly designed. There are stained glass windows and blue, Iznik tile work on the Qibla wall. On either side of the mihrab are large calligraphy tiles with text from Surah Al-Fatiha, the beginning chapter of the Quran. The interior always feels cool, partly because a clever airflow system was incorporated into the original design to direct soot from the candles and oil lamps to a single point. It was then collected and used for ink. Sinan embarked on a radical architectural innovation to mask the huge north-south buttresses needed to support these central piers. He incorporated the buttresses into the walls of the building, with half projecting inwards and half projecting outwards, and then hid the projections by building colonnaded galleries. There is a single gallery inside the structure and a 2-story gallery outside. Religious inscriptions in parts of the mosque demonstrate its stature as a place of sacredness. Quranic messages can be found incorporated throughout the building. For example, the side entrance of the mosque has an inscription reading, "Peace be unto thee. Thou art good, so enter ye to dwell therein." On the Qibla wall, the stained glass windows display the names of God, Allah, the Prophet Muhammad, and the caliphs. They are there to represent Allah